anasema hii mafuta hata ikipanda anapata faida. So in the next 3-4 weeks mafuta itapanda na zaidi ya 40 shillings kuendelea mbele. So na ikipanda fare itapanda, kila kitu itapanda. Sasa wewe William Ruto umetajirika. Sasa hii utajiri mingi ni ya nini? Mr. William Ruto, you must immediately direct the Speaker of the National Assembly, your sycophant, to convene a special sitting of Parliament within 7 days to address the following urgent issues, failure to which the united government shall call for national mass action.
Tuesday is Tuesday. If they cannot listen to our grievances, we are declaring Maandamano on this Tuesday.
Tutaita mkutano ingine ya viongozi ya upinzani, alafu tutaambia hii wa Kenya watoke kwa barabara, wafunge kila kitu mpaka wewe Kasongo urekebishe mambo ya Kenya.
There was a
As the prices of fuel continue to go up, guess what the president and his ex are actually doing?
Wacha kutisha Rigiji. Kama Kasongo hawezi tisha mimi, wewe unanitisha ukiwa nani? Wewe Duale. Si wewe utafute video. Uone vile nilisomea Kasongo pale Olokarau kama amekaa hapo. Alidu. Si nilimusomea? Sasa.
You guessed it right. Obviously, you guessed it right.
1, to cancel the so-called government-to-government petroleum framework, as it involves hard-picked oil marketing companies that represent the William Ruto interests. In any case, the commercial frameworks between William Ruto and private international companies. We want to explain that this is not government-to-government. This is government companies in the Middle East. In normal circumstances, if it was government to government, these Middle East companies would be working either with the NOC or with the Kenya Pipeline Company, not private companies owned by William Ruto. So there is nothing like government to government deal. It is government to William Ruto proxies and companies. We unequivocally demand for the immediate resignation for Energy and Petroleum, Mr. Opiyo Wandayi, for the fuel scandal and lying under the oath to the National Assembly Committee. We also demand the resignation of Lee Kinyanjui for being complicit and being part of this scandal. We want today, we receive our maiden petroleum imports at a government-to-government arrangement. It is an important milestone for our country and our economy. The petroleum regulations, the Petroleum Importation Regulations 2023 provides that the importation of super petrol, diesel, and Jet A1 into the country shall be undertaken either through the Open Tender System, OTS, or a government-to-government arrangement. The monthly imports of 3 petroleum products is approximately 740,000 metric tons, of which 60% is for local consumption, while 40% is for transit market. The petroleum imports are paid for in US dollars, which has of late strained the country's foreign exchange reserves. This has caused difficulty in US dollars liquidity, resulting into rapid depreciation of the Kenya shilling. The Kenya shilling USD exchange rate is a critical variable in determination of petroleum pump prices. Any Kenya shilling's depreciation is direct.
And I must say I'm literally pissed by this Gachagua speech on fuel, because if there's any... Okay, I have no resentment against Gachagua, but I'm here to call out what we call, for most Kenyans, it's actually they are bitter because they have to go an extra mile and cash out or dish out or pay for the fuel. The price of the fuel has gone up by, I think right now it's retailing at 210 shillings. But for Gachagua, let's be honest, for him it's a matter of revenge, but Kenyans are actually carrying a weight load because of failure of these same leaders. The leaders that had an opportunity when they sat on that seat and did, okay, someone said they were carrying out the rules, or they were carrying out the orders of their boss, which is, we have no arm against that. But now that you are out here, why would you pretend to sing the same song as the Kenyans, while as for you, you're not being impacted so much like them? What I mean is, for most Kenyans, this is actually painful for them because they have to go an extra mile, or they have to go extra when it comes to paying for this fuel. But the same Gachagua can afford, can afford the fuel to go around and actually... But I feel like this battle, it should not bring the war of Kenyans. And because I saw people who are saying that they will actually vote for Gachagua, and frankly speaking, Gachagua is not an option, because if this is the leader that we want to elect, we're going to make a mistake. When it was William Ruto's time back in 2022, when he was being elected when he was running for campaigns, most Kenyans elected him because of sympathy, truth be said, and see where that landed us. Right now, for Gachagua, this is a game of revenge, but for Kenyans, it is actually a pain to their wallet. It's actually a pain to their salary. And right now, Kenyans are actually thinking of leaving Kenyans, and Kenyans are actually thinking of leaving their cars and walking by matatu to work, because that's how tough things are currently. Now, tomorrow is Tuesday, and Kenyans have come out to say that they're going back to the streets, and I don't know why is it always on Tuesday, but I am one person who calls a spade, because when a certain strategy is not working, when it worked in 2024, it was actually under unclear circumstances. And okay, did I say unclear circumstances? Sorry. When it actually worked, the politicians did not see it coming. William Ruto did not see it coming. Nobody thought that Kenyans could actually go to the streets and do what they did. But do you know why after every announcement, we are saying tomorrow we are on the streets to actually riot or demonstrate on how expensive fuel has become? But truth and frankly speaking, the Maandamanos are no longer working. And I think I did a video where I was explaining as to what Ruto does. For one, Ruto promised that the Maandamano will never happen again in the country. And he has actually made sure of that. On this issue of demonstration that are meant to happen tomorrow, 21st April 2026, because of how expensive life has become, because of how expensive fuel has become, because Ruto has been given an ultimatum to actually reduce the price of the fuel. Do you know what William Ruto said?
Why is it that sometimes prices of fuel are different in Kenya to get from our neighbors? And sometimes maybe it's good to let them know. Kenya is a middle-income country. Our neighbors are least development countries. There's a big difference. If you want to compare Kenya fairly with others, compare Kenya with other middle-income countries. That is how you will get the figures right. Our fuel supports transport infrastructure. I just want Kenyans to know that we have 20,000 kilometers of tarmac to maintain, and we have 6,000 kilometers of tarmac under construction. 20,000 kilometers of tarmac to maintain here in Kenya is...
The fake fuel ndio iko cheap. But frankly speaking, we saw a scandal by the very CS Opiyo Wandayi at the center of this scandal, where we had fake fuel in the country, simply because Opiyo Wandayi had chosen or chose to, allow me to do that, simply because Opiyo Wandayi chose to go outside the G2G framework, where it is a deal, government to government deal, and he received fuel that was not from that framework, and by so doing, that is how the fake fuel came into the country. And as if that is not enough, President Ruto is actually saying that the cheap fuel, the cheap fuel ndo iko fake, but we are having a cheap fuel all over that is being sold at us extremely expensive. And to hear that from the president, who has been given an ultimatum to reduce the price of the fuel, and is doing nothing about it but to tell us that you know, Kenya is